Hi everybody, it's Colin here. Back again at Colin's Engage. As you can see, a Class 60 is running around with some goods wagons. We're just going to I'm just going to show you a diagram of how I did my boards, my baseboards, and reasons for doing it this way. Now, I always run, whenever I come in, I have one or more engines running. So while I'm doing other things, I can keep looking at them and think, it's great, isn't it? Just watching this go around. So I'll go on to the diagram. I'll just set my camera up to so you can see it, and then we'll have some more chat about it. Right then, so as you can see, that's a rough sketch of the plan of my framework, what you can see. This is my outside of my shed, going round. Up here, up there is where is the exit to my shed on this side. When I built the shed, I put insulation in, and then I put plasterboard on the wall. I wasn't going to plaster it, it's just to keep the insulation in. It's what you put in walls. In the olden days, and now putting kingspan sometimes in walls as well as ceiling, and my ceiling has insulation in as well, but that isn't covered. So what I did, I ran 3x2 round the edges of the shed. From here to here is about 3.3 meters, 3,300 mil. Across is about 1,650. So 1,650 mil. I screwed the 3x2, which is out of 3x2, it's planed. So your measurement is less, but you still call it 3x2. In the trade you do. A lot of people would say, can I have 68 by 45? But tradesmen would just say, can I have 3x2 PSE? Plain, side and edges. So that is screwed that way into the uprights of my shed and down this side. Along the top, that piece along the top, which you can only just see, that is stitched into the side pieces. These two are also stitched in. Now what I mean by stitching is you get a screw, and at a diagonal you go through the, like a 45 through the end and into this piece of timber here, and then you also do one that way. That means because you can't get it from there that way, you just screw it through. You put one near the top edge, one near the bottom edge, and it holds it. And the same on this side. These pieces here, those are screwed through just the end that way. So that's my 3x2. Now on top of my 3x2, I put on some 2x1 tile lap. Now that is actually measured 2x1 because it's sawn. Now when I show you the actual piece, there's a different colour. That is just planed and no treatment, and that actually is treated, tannalized, treated. Now it's irrelevant, is this, for this plan, but if you see the difference in colour, then you know why. I use 2" because it's cut and it's always going to be the same. And the reason I did this, these are screwed down into my 3x2, which go around the outside edges. So this side here is the 2x1, which forms a rebate like that. And going across from the outside edge to the inside where I stand is some 2x1 tile again, but they're not fixed. They slide up and down. Now the reason for this was, originally I was going to use these point motors, quite big, but they screw up underneath your baseboards. I wanted slow motion. Even with Engage, I wanted it to be slow. Now, that was how I was originally going to do it, and this is why I left them loose. There was not much chance of ever going to be a point right up against the wall. They all would be in a bit. But these, if these were fixed in certain places going round the board, if this bulky thing was underneath one of those, so if that is bigger than that 2" and it would hit this or hit that. So I decided to have those just to slide, so that the point motors didn't hit this piece of wood, what goes across like that from there to there and so on round. The whole of the board on top of it is plywood all the way around, and there's no legs except for one here. I put one leg on, so that was quite wide. This is where I'm standing at the moment, looking that way at this plan. So there's plenty of room underneath to get to my wiring and stuff like that. Now, since I've started, like I said in the very first video about 3 years ago, I've changed my mind on what point motors, and this has come an advantage to me. The same thing for these pieces of wood, that they move is good, because when I put any droppers down or wires from my point servos, what I've gone on to, so now I've gone on to those little servos. There's the wires to go underneath, so if they're in the way, I slide them out of the way. And I'll show you underneath the board in this area what I mean by it moving, which I'll just get down on the floor and show you. Right, so I'm underneath the baseboards now. That is the plywood. That over there is the 3x2 running round, and that's the tile lat forming the rebate. Now, as you can see, there's some droppers coming down there, and that piece of wood with the writing on could have been right there. So all I've done is just moved it out of the way, just slid it out of the way, so I have plenty of room to move it. If I wanted to, if I twist it, I can get it out and put it on the other side of the wires, so it could actually be on this side. And that just gives me the ability to put points, wires, wherever I want, because I can just move those out of the way. So that's the underneath. I'll get back up on top now so we can have a look further at the boards. Okay, I'm stood back up now. So there's the 3x2, there's the 2x1, there's the 1/2 inch plywood. I'm outside in a shed. There's not a lot of moisture. It's mainly moisture in the air, so I've used plywood instead of any other material. On top of this is some 1/2 inch plasterboard with an insulation stuck to it. Now, the original reason for using this insulation was I didn't want to put cork down everywhere. This stuff deafens the noise, just like corking does. It takes, say, the wheels running round and it sort of echoes a little bit on plywood or any other baseboard. That's why we put corking down, and this is why I've used this. The other reason for using it, it's got a slight texture to it, so when I put any grass down, static grass or hardcore, anything, it's not going to be dead flat. And there was another reason. If I put a flame to it, just a light gentle flame, it shrinks away going down towards the plasterboard. So the ground, as well as making it go upwards with different materials, I can also make this go down. Now, my river seam, I've actually cut it right out down to the plasterboard on one piece, and on the other piece I've gone right down to the actual plywood, so it's a little bit deeper. But that was the reason for doing it. But since I started going to use that big point motor, just to show you again. That I've changed because over the years I've gone to exhibitions and spoken to different people, and I spoke to Dave at Megapoint Controllers, and if you want, with his system, you can use those servos, and this servo fits in flush to the plywood. If I can just get my fingers out of the way, if you can see it on, and I would cut those lugs off. You can just see slightly up, just cut it off, and I can set it into the insulation and into the plasterboard. This means I can do everything up here. The control board, what you plug these into, and program the servo. I can do it all stood up, put a number on, so if this was number 1, put a little tab on it to say this point motor is number 1. When I put the actual control panel underneath the board out of sight, it has number 1 on it. I plug that one into it, and I'm not on the floor very long. So this is why I've used this. As it turns out, it's benefited in many ways. So there's my points, and if I want, under my town scene, I've actually, if I just go over gently to show you, I've stuck them on top, because you can just glue them to the insulation. And if I can get in close enough for you, you'll see the wire going from the arm to the point switch. Now this will have a tunnel mouth on, so you won't see them. But it's just one less job. I don't have to cut them in then. And my Class 60 is still running around like a good one. So this is how I do my point motors, and I will show you how I set them up. So that's how I did my baseboards and my framework. I hope someone can get some use out of that idea when they do their baseboards, and there's plenty of other ways and good ways of doing it, but that was my way. So please subscribe, like, and everything else what everybody asks you to do. And it's been great talking to you again, and look forward to doing the next one. So bye for now. Bye from Colin.